What an absolutely phenomenal call by Palantir's management. This was pretty incredible. I'll set it up here and then we'll get everyone talking. Neil, Couch Investor, thank you for being with us here today. 5,000 people. I hope you've enjoyed the show. We're going to be on here for about another 30 minutes discussing everything that's going on. Palantir right now, after hours, is $19.90. It is trying to close in on that magical $20 number, up 18.9% right now after hours, after Karp spoke on this earnings call. So let's take about 30 minutes, analyze what he had to say, and then we'll go from there. I'm going to give my high-level thoughts on the actual call, and then I'll get each of you involved, and we'll go section by section. They talked about FedStart, they talked about government spend, commercial spend, all that stuff. High-level thoughts, as someone who's been covering the company for a while, invested in the company, and ultimately wants the company to grow. I think that this was one of the first earning calls where Karp legitimately seems confident about where the trajectory of the company is going to be in an age of AI abstractions, AI companies, AI this, AI that. And the reason for this is because the big thing I got from the call is he's telling these analysts from JP Morgan and Jefferies and RBC that want to downgrade the stock so deeply, think it's only worth $5-10, come to the actual boot camps, play with the software. You don't have to be super technical, but just get your hands on what we're doing. Because for Palantir to close 100 deals last quarter, over $1 million, for them to grow commercial count 35%, or customer count 35%, commercial customer count 55%, for them to have adjusted operating margins of somehow 34%, it just seems like this is a company that is expanding into a different era, and that era is built on two things. Number one, having one of the best AI enterprise platforms on the planet, which seems like it is AIP. I'm not saying that just to say that. I'm saying that because they closed 100 deals last quarter for $1 million each. Some of those deals, Shyam Sanger said, were $25 million with biotech companies, telecommunication companies, automotive companies. Like, these are massive deals they're getting. They got Cole Supermarket a couple of days ago in Australia. It seems like this stuff is real. And then second of all, they are using their product to sell the business. They are not using salespeople. They're not using LinkedIn. They're not using cold calling. They're using the very nature of the product, and that is what's expanding that additional revenue coming in. Numbers look phenomenal. Karp seemed confident. Shyam seemed confident. They seemed very confident about how the DoD is ultimately going to be able to spend and allocate revenue, and why they particularly have a unique differentiated moat to be able to generate those billions of dollars that we know the pie is growing for in the context of AI spend from the government. And overall, I mean, it just seems like Karp is ready to take this company to the next level, given that company's numbers are finally in the right place for them to get there. Arnie, what were your raw thoughts after hearing Karp talk?
I would say, to synthesize everything, it's happening. The thesis that we figured out years ago, like what we could expect as a potential from the company, I see this becoming a reality, but from all the angles, in terms of them making a product to rapidly attack a new wave of interest, them actually being able to figure out how to sell it, how to transform all of that into financial numbers, that match perfectly the story. So every number that we have seen actually is a dramatic improvement. You mentioned the deals that were expanding, but to give a sense of how much they are expanding, in the quarter they closed 103 deals, which compares with 80 deals in Q3. Okay, which is fine. But these are the deals of at least 1 million. Then if we go on the richer deals, 5 million, they were 29, now 37. So not 2x, but not too far. And then we go to the $10 million deal. So the most juicy ones. Last quarter, they were 12. This quarter, they were 21. So everything is accelerating, and they also confirmed there is enough food, enough ground now to keep accelerating. So we have been seeing this perfect match between the business getting momentum, becoming profitable and accelerating, while also matching the interest of institutional investors, which want exactly this. So it's like we are at the beginning of an accelerating phase.
Neil, let's get your thoughts, then we'll go to Vince.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for having me. By the way, Arnie, did you look at my post-it that I wrote before? Stealing my thunder here. I was basically going to say the exact same thing, but I mean, you talked about the confidence. I mean, we've seen Carp confident before, but now I think he has also the relaxed feeling of, okay, our business, our plan is now working. We are profitable. We are continuing to be profitable. Our business is accelerating. Yes, maybe Europe doesn't like us, but right now, maybe we don't need Europe. I think it's pretty fair to say they don't need Europe currently. There's enough demand in the United States. Business is booming. Government will reaccelerate in 2024. No, I'm not Arnie's brother, but maybe from another mother. Who knows? But yeah, I think the momentum is not only with the stock, but more importantly, the momentum is with the business.
Okay, Vince, go ahead.
Yeah, that was nothing. This was a perfect call, the best call that I've seen from Palantir so far. And it's not only that AIP is accelerating, it's literally every part of the business is accelerating. Government is accelerating, FedRAMP is accelerating. They are coming out with new future products. Yeah, by far the best call. The price increase is very deserved. I'm very curious how Carp evaluates the company, because he's specific. Like, there are some analysts that give them, Mariana gives them a $21 target price. Dan Ives, I think, has a $24 target price. And when he calls out analysts, I wonder, like, how does he value the company? Because we had him in an interview where he mentioned 60 billion is his number. He thinks very soon we're going to be there. So that I think he.
No, it's a good question. I don't think Carp's absurd. I mean, Carp, we knew he invested in company. He was a venture capitalist, right? He understands valuations. I don't think he's asking for a $100 stock price or anything. I think he's just saying, don't give me a $5 price target. Like Rishi Jaloria. Rishi, I hope you're watching, buddy. I hope you're watching from somewhere at RBC. That $5 price target not looking good right now. I think Tyler Racky at Citi saying $10 price target. I think Carp is talking to those people saying, you guys aren't actually looking at what's happening in the company. You're using your fancy models to come up with valuations that don't take into account what's happening at the company. It reminds me a lot of Tesla.
And but we also use models, and we don't get to $5. I don't get how you even get to $5.
Well, so that goes to, I think that's Carp's point, is that $5 and $10 is a bit ridiculous for a company of Palantir's. I mean, they did more than $500 million in revenue in 90 days. So it's ideological. It's dogmatic. It's, dare I say, manipulated in terms of these price targets, because this is what happens on Wall Street. And Palantir is so anti all of that nonsense. They just want to win with their product. And I think eventually the street's going to have to reward them, because you're going to have to pump your money into something that's growing, and Palantir is growing. Go ahead, Arnie.
What's hilarious is that RBC, so the bank with which they have a very low, like a $5, $10 price target, is actually a client of Palantir.
Right. I mean, look, this is a phenomenal quarter. And I think those people, if they don't upgrade their price targets, Rishi, we got you on the screen right here, dude. You probably came on YouTube. You wanted to look at the call. You might have clicked on my thumbnail over Palantir's thumbnail. You're there. You're on the screen. If you don't upgrade your target, I mean, at some level, the respect for you kind of has to go down. It was already not the best at $5, but like at some point, this stuff has to change. And I think that's why Carp was so vocal to these guys saying, talk to the analysts, make them like us, because apparently they don't with some of the stuff they're saying. Couple quotes I want to get your guys' thoughts on. Carp says, we are bombarded daily with the best talent in the world. We cannot keep up with the amount of people that are trying to work at a 20-year-old company. What were your thoughts on what he said about talent?
I got wet in my pants a little bit. I really like what he said. Yeah.
I think it's important as we move, especially with the new age of AI. We've seen this with Tesla, we've seen this with NVIDIA, with all the other big tech companies. I think it's going to be extremely important to attract the best talent out there. So yeah, it's definitely very, very bullish. The question is, of course, we're all going to talk about this eventually. How many shares will they get? What will happen with SBCs? That's going to
so let me give an update on that. SBC came down. So SBC for the full year, since the deck
full year,
full year 2023 was 478 million. Last year $565 million. They reduced stock-based compensation by 18%.
And on top of it, if the talents are coming to you in droves, you have the upper hand in negotiations. You don't have to give away your company because these people want to come and work for you.
Yeah, I mean, when you're getting talent coming in and they're saying, hey, we'll take a $19 strike price, you know, I mean, like, that's, you know, Palantir still has to grow. To get from 19 to 50, there's a lot of growth that has to happen versus if you came at $6. But if you're tired of working on optimizing advertising clicks at Google, then maybe you're going to go do something different. Arnie, what did you think about what he said about talent?
What's happening right now in the world and in the commercial space really shows that what Palantir has been saying for 20 years is actual truth. Like it or not, the smartest people in the world need to realize that. And that creates a convergence that I think we have been seeing mostly with Tesla. Because with a big tech like Meta, they already started very well, so they naturally attracted talents. But with Tesla, I think once the story got more confirmed, and I think here Neil can add something to this. It's like when there was clear evidence that Tesla was making it right, while all the other automakers were slipping behind. That is where you trigger the divergence between the pool of talents that you keep attracting and the other companies. It's not a random thing that Tesla is the key attractor of the best software car maker engineers, designing engineers, and so on. And guess what? What truly makes the difference between a big tech and a shit tech is talents. So if Palantir has the best talents and they keep attracting the best talents, now knocking the door of Palantir, and rather than Palantir praying for these talents to come, I think the divergence between the crappy SaaS company that is just one of the N would become the divergence would become even greater.
Neil, let me ask you this question. Let's say the stock sells off tomorrow. It's up 20% right now after hours. Congrats to all shareholders. Let's say, you know, we go up 5% tomorrow. We sell off. We're down 3% tomorrow. Do you think the quarter was good enough to justify faith in the business to keep your sentiment high, even if the stock doesn't perform tomorrow?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if it drops tomorrow, like you said, I don't think it will. I mean, it would be something going from up 20 to down 5, even though I think we've seen something similar in the last 6 months with other companies. But no, the most important here is, I said this yesterday, it's the guidance. Q1 came in line, fine, but full year 2024 guidance was very, very good. Very, very good. So if we get to buy shares cheaper, I mean, why not? The business does well, stock goes down, it's the perfect combo to build out your position for the long term. But I want to add more to what we've been saying. I think attracting talent, especially in the area of AI, is extremely important, but attracting the right talent. He's been talking about attracting the right talent for quite a while, talking about people that are aligned with Western values, because we're not talking about a company that makes it easier for you to upload your pictures or your news or whatever online and videos and stuff like that. Talking about company that is or should be world-changing, that is protecting you as a citizen, you as a military person, whatnot. It is of extreme importance to have the right people there, whether it's engineers, salespeople, doesn't matter. And I think it starts at the top, which I believe world-class management is there. And so, yeah, I'm very bullish. I'm very bullish. I've been bullish for quite a while. The business did have a slowdown, fine, but it has been bottoming for the last 2 quarters or so. So, yeah, stock goes down, we will pick up more shares.
I agree. I just feel, and let me know what you guys feel in the chat. I just feel Karp had a different tone while he was talking in this call. He made his usual jokes. He had his arrogance come out in different places, but he really did sound like AIP was going to be where the company is positioning itself, and they know how to grow. Like, it's one thing to have, like, I mean, even Arnie uses this example all the time as content creators. Like as content creators, you're basically, there's billions of pieces of content posted every day on the internet. How do you stand out? Once you figure out a way to communicate and you know what to do, then you just keep doing it and you keep going and you keep showing up and you do what you have to do in order to be able to grow. I think for the first 2 years where Palantir was public, they didn't know what the hell they were doing when it came to sales. I mean, they knew, but not to the point where they could grow, astronomically, or those growth rates just wouldn't be sustainable because at one point it would come to an end. And that happened in Q3 2022 when Karp said we wouldn't be profitable until 2025, when adjusted operating margins went down to 17%. Right now, they're at 34%. Ironically, that's a doubling from Q3 2022. So it seems like now they know what the hell they got to do. They know what the model is. The constraint is not money. The constraint is talent. They have conferences where you have to be a rock star to get access into the building. I mean, it just seems like, damn it, if you're going to bet on a software company, maybe you're overpaying a little bit. And as these new guidance, valuations come out, maybe you're really not overpaying at all, quite frankly. It seems kind of hard to bet on some of these other companies that are out there besides Palantir. Go ahead, Vince.
I just want to say I was surprised in my model when I was playing around how much when you change the operating margin
Yes.
from 25% to 28% to 30. I tried 31%. It was a huge change in the price, and we had 34%. So I'm really not sure that the stock is overvalued. And even if it's overvalued, you wait 3 weeks and the company is going to grow into it.
You see, everything gravitates toward the fact that the expectations were not low, but were relatively low compared with the potential of the company, which is what we spotted. So the market was expecting Palantir to grow at 20% at most, the consensus average, with margins relatively okay. While Palantir is set to accelerate, so to bring more growth than that, while also growing more in terms of margins. At this point, I would say all analysts need to adjust their target prices. There is no way an analyst can downgrade the stock or decrease the price target, backed by these numbers, these comments, and the evolution that is set to evolve. But don't underscore one thing. So far, we have been putting the highlight to the commercial side, but we got some precious hint that we would see the government part shine again. They said Titan was expected to come in Q1, so it should arrive in Q2. Okay, we're almost there. And they explicitly said the US government side, the government side is way stronger than the numbers actually show, but they are so critical in the most critical places in the world and inside the DoD that it is only a matter of time, essentially, for the DoD to really figure out how to buy more software rather than just pure metal. And we also got another hint, but not related to the US, but to the international side, that, for instance, they are expanding FedStart to Europe. Mm-hmm. And as we guessed, they are starting with UK to deploy FedStart there. So it's just insane to think that everything that is developed to meet the hardest problems for the DoD then can be scaled within governments, within all countries that are not adversarial to the US. So it seems the government side is boring, mature, but the reality is that we're just starting also there.
Yeah, and I mean, they did say government is going to accelerate again in 2024. And when you look at the slide on page 11, you get the timeline. FedStart impact level 6 coming end of Q2, FedStart FedRAMP high coming beginning of Q4 2024, couple of quarters in the future. But you get the indications that, yes, commercial is doing great. It's going to continue to grow and accelerate. But let's not forget about the government side of things, which should be reviving pretty soon. And then you've got a mix of both sides of the business. Fun.
Yeah, commercial customer count up 55%. Gross margins are somehow up 2%. I mean,
This is insane. Let me say insane because Nether ServiceNow, which is the best run software up to now, and I would say not for long, has around 82% gross margin. I think here comes into play what Dom spotted in a very little line of a 10K, saying that they signed a deal with AWS, a big deal.
Yep.
So I think they saw huge demand for AAP, so that they signed a very good deal with AWS to provide very cheap compute at scale, which is benefiting this gross margin. 2% gross margin improvement in 1 quarter is just insanity.
Yeah, it was stuck at 81 for 2 quarters, 82, 80. So that's amazing.
It's actually a 20% improvement because the 82% gross margin means that your cost is 18%, and this 18% went down to 16%, and that's almost
right.
It's a lot bigger improvement than just the number would tell you.
And I think it also proves that this is not a consulting firm. For those that still want to believe in, if you read people who write about things in a cave that call themselves bears, this is not a consulting firm. I'm sorry, they just, if you don't know what an ontology is, you probably shouldn't be writing newsletters about Palantir, writing short reports, because you're just gonna mess up sometimes when the company actually does well. Billings up 56%. That's a big one, dude. I mean, it's 56% year over year. That means they're getting ready to really build their customers. Average revenue TTM, that's up 1 million quarter over quarter, 11%, 49 to 55 million. George, thank you for the $20 super chat. What'd you say?
How is that still growing? Like, this top 20 customer amazes me every time.
They're providing value. They're providing value.
With billings, you also have quarter over quarter growth after that small dip from Q2 to Q3. Same with total RPO. So yeah, definitely back on track. Unlike
I have an interesting,
real quick
suggest.
Let's do the super chat because this is a good question. Thank you, George, for the $20. Do we infer from Karp's comments that Palantir received compensation for support efforts in Ukraine and Israel? I think yes. I think they definitely got paid from Israel. We're about to give $60 billion to Ukraine if this next funding thing gets approved. I mean, I think Ukraine is going to have some money to give Palantir. I don't know if it's officially happened, but Israel, they seemed very confident. Ukraine, I don't know, but I think that money will eventually come. Arnie, your thoughts on that?
I would say we don't know. He seems confident that somehow things will work, especially from Israel. But don't forget that we have a reconstruction deal from Ukraine. So we discussed it the other day at Palantir Weekly. Let's say, in the worst case, Palantir doesn't get paid for the work that is currently doing in Ukraine. 2 things. First, that is giving visibility of output, so not marketing, output in the entire world. So that is implicitly marketing.
Real quick, Arnie, sorry, the chat is spamming it. We are at $20 after hours, folks. Cover your ears. I'm sorry. We got to ring it. Wow. Look at that.
Here we go.
Look at that.
Break that wall with your bricks.
Yeah, no, Arnie, I agree with you. I think eventually we're going to get paid from Ukraine, from the Ministry of Digital Reconstruction. We have a deal with them. We don't know what it's worth, even if we don't get paid for the actual software we're giving on the battlefield. But at this point, if Ukraine's got almost $200 billion from the U.S. government, like, it's just, it is unfathomable if they did not give Palantir like a couple $100 million or 10 million, 5 million. Like, I think that's going to happen eventually. Hopefully by the end of the year, we'll get clarity on that. Israel, we do know they do have the money to pay. So that's likely happening in Israel.
Okay, yeah, I mean, guys, tough question for you. What bears can say now?
Oh, well, Edwin should look up what ontology means before he even says something. So Edwin, if you're watching this, dude, maybe, look into what the concept of an ontology is, then you can start talking. But no, I don't know. I think the bears are going to say, well, Snowflake's growing at 37%. Maybe Databricks is growing at 50%, yada, yada, yada. I don't think this is necessarily about growth rates anymore, because they just showed they can increase guidance. And maybe, I mean, quite frankly, if U.S. commercial is growing at 40% year over year or 70%, they're guiding for 40%. If that number is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, then this guidance is sandbagged. Now, how much is it sandbagged? I don't know. But if it's sandbagged by $500 million, you're at 22-23% year-over-year growth, and that's just going to compound. Adjusted operating income margins, those expanding as well, means that it's really hard for a bear to say, well, you're not growing as much as Snowflake. It's like, yeah, but Snowflake's not profitable, and their margins are nowhere near what Palantir's margins are, and they are spending 70% of their revenues on sales and marketing. Palantir's not doing that because they have a product that's working. On M&A, they have to. Snowflake, for those that don't know this, they acquired 4 companies last year. 4 of them. One of them they paid $150 million for. That's Neva, to build LLM search capabilities. Palantir has not acquired a company since 2016. They've internally innovated. Why? Because they're getting the best talent in the world to be able to innovate. So it's just hard to imagine, what the bears can really point to. Neil, what do you think? What's your best bear case you can give right now for Palantir?
I think they're still going to focus on government not growing. I think they're going to focus on that. You can focus on dilution as well if you want. Still 7% up year over year. At some point, I think they will have to use their buyback, right? Their $1 billion program, just to tackle that issue. But I think bears will say, one, government still not growing that much, and 2, maybe they can use the interest income excuse that it makes them for the majority of Palantirs being profitable. I don't know, just throwing things out there because we've seen some ridiculous stuff already in the last 12 months. So yeah, I mean, Carp said, if you want to see results, come to the boot camps and then we'll show you. I really hope that a lot of analysts go there, because on the call, what did we have? 2.5?
Well, they're probably not. I mean, like, if you're an analyst who has a $5 price target, why would you actually go and look at their software? If you're a guy who writes a newsletter scaring people from investing into Palantir or scaring them out of their investments, why would you actually look up what the word ontology means? I think this is the fight that Palantir is fighting,
I'm starting to think that Palantir is not letting analysts join the conference. Or they are, or do you think the analysts themselves are?
No, here's the thing, Arnie. I think Palantir is allowing analysts to join the conference if they actually care about Palantir. Like, why would I let some random person who has no, care to even come? Like, they invited Dan Ives to a boot camp for a reason. I'm sure they've sent out some invites to Rishi and Tyler and all these guys. And if they don't want to go, it's like, all right, well, why should you get to ask a question? You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. What are you going to ask a question about? Dan Ives sitting in his bathroom is asking a better question than you in some fancy, New York City skyline. Like, get the fuck out of here. You don't know what the hell you're saying. So
they're gatekeeping the idiots out.
They're gatekeeping the
idiots. Guys,
I agree.
So another question for you. Among all the things that Carp and management said, what is the sentence that you liked the most?
Oh, there is one. That they talked about, that they expanded the TAM. I really, really like that. That it was mentioned by the CFO, I believe, and also Alex Karp, that the new boot camps, and like, it was impossible to sell their products the way they were selling it to a large part of the companies. And with this boot camp, they have greatly, greatly expanded the TAM. And the way I understand their TAM is that anybody who has an ability to spend $1 million and has a pulse, they are the TAM. And is allied to the US and the West.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think the best line was really just Karp saying, I mean, the talent thing is a big thing for me, because the fact that people want to work at his company and they don't have the ability to even like keep up with the demand on recruiting just means that the interest in his company is the greatest it's ever been. And it's a 20-year-old company. They're not giving massive compensation packages like you could get at Amazon, Google, or Microsoft. They're saying, hey, we're going to defend the West. We're going to defend Western values. We're going to make companies, the most interesting in the world by software. And you're not going to get $400,000 per year. Maybe you'll get $200,000 and you'll get some equity, and the equity might not even really go up. It's a risk you're taking. And people are still like, sign me up immediately, because they're so inspired by that vision. And I just think in tech, from the friends that I have in tech, they say, follow the developers. And if the developers are coming to this company because they really want to work here, because they believe in the mission, believe in the values, then I think eventually the revenues and the growth is going to follow. And this is a company that's going to do really well over the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm. And you, Neil?
Yeah. I mean, the Bombarded one was a fun one. But the part where he basically challenged the company's leaderships with, you try something, then whenever what time, what place, we don't care. We'll be there and we'll show you what we can do. I think that's like a come at me, bro. I'll show you what we've got moment. And again, it shows the confidence that he has in the company's execution. And now definitely after a 5th consecutive quarter of being profitable, I think he's feeling way more relaxed. And so, yeah, we're going into 2024 with full strength.
Come and you will see that in 10 hours, we will deliver you what you have been spending 10 months and failing.
Yeah.
That's tough. So we have the bombarded, we have the time expanding, the challenge. To me, the most striking sentence that I loved was, we had this kind of hate and love relationship, mostly hate with CTOs. And now CTOs of clients come to us and say, you know what? We have no choice.
That was a big line. That was a huge line, because that line was like where the conversation in 2022 was the IT departments are antagonistic with Palantir software because they thought it's replacing them. Whereas now the IT departments are like, can you help us? Which is a totally different relationship.
The self-pleasurement was also a good one.
Yeah.
Correct. Go ahead,
I
Vince.
missed that.
So I have an interesting question. Do you guys think it was a mistake that they didn't buy back the stock? Because look, they approved the share buyback, right? I think that the stock was relatively cheap. I mean, Arnie went all in, and it might not come back to below 20. So they missed out a period when.
No, that's where I'll push back. We have no idea what's going to happen over the next 6 months.
That's true.
I mean,
that's true.
This gets into a whole macro discussion, but
we didn't. The company does.
Yeah, I mean,
no,
look.
But it means the stock price.
Well, look, to me, it's simply a question of could there be a sell-off? And 1,000%, people can take a lot of profits tomorrow. So the idea that we don't get back down to maybe 16, 17, do I want it to happen? No. Do I think it could happen tomorrow? Probably not. But in the coming months, if the S&P falls 5%, which it's at all-time highs, that could happen, right? But to me, it's irrelevant because the business itself is doing really well. So that's a good dip if it ends up getting there.
And I mean, they have. Go ahead,
Neil, then Arnie. Go ahead, Neil.
Okay, so they have $1 billion to spend. So I mean, they can buy back now. They can buy back when it's 16, when it's 17, doesn't matter. Plus, they expect to generate 900 million adjusted free cash flow at midpoint for 2024. So if things go bad, they can announce an increase in share buybacks in the future if they have to. And I mean, they probably will in the future because this company will just generate more and more cash. And so why not? So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I think they'll eventually start buying back their own shares. They don't really have that much choice, in my opinion.
It's just better for us the lower they start, because I mean they knew about these results. They knew about these results, as to Arnie's points. Like they knew how good it was going, and yet they didn't do it. So it just makes me wonder.
It is true that there is a blackout period where they can't really do stuff, which is just before the earnings. But I would say overall, if we think of the company as a potential investor on its own stock, while also having insider information, it would have made sense to start by backing a little bit. Obviously, in insights, once you see the stock popping, you say, you idiot, you didn't do it. But we can't really complain. Like the priority of a company now is not to maximize shareholder returns, is to maximize the probabilities that in 5 years from now, Palantir is not a $30 billion company, is a 5x company in terms of revenues, customers, and they officially become the standard for AI. In the same way you say CRM, you say Salesforce. In the same way you say ERP, you say SAP. Like them or not, they are the standards. Palantir needs to become the standard to do something useful, to bring value to enterprises and government. If they achieve that, then they have like 10 years to buy back the shares.
Yeah, I agree. The reason Google and Meta are buying back $70 to $80 billion worth of stock is because they don't even know what to do with the money anymore, right? Because when you get that big, it's hard to innovate. Palantir
Dividends.
with right. And dividends, right? Like Palantir with 3.7 billion. I mean, they kind of teased that they have some product offerings down the line. They say our product pipeline is more full than it's ever been. So I think they do need that money to invest in R&D or whatever they need to do, not to give us, to reduce the float. There are plenty of investors across the world that are willing to buy Palantir stock, institutional and retail. There's plenty of liquidity. The volume today is 162 million shares, about 20 million shares after hours, about 30 million shares after hours have been traded. So I don't think they need to buy back the stock. I think they need to innovate. And it seems like they're going to do it. All right, folks. I think that is the end of this call. For the 3,000 people that are still here, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. I want to show you guys something to end off this call. This right here was something a friend sent me, Ken Borhosky. I think he lives in Detroit, and he sent me this. And he sent me this a year ago when Palantir stock was like $9 or $10, right? Really in the gutter. Sentiment was low. He does a lot of wielding and welding at his shop in Detroit. And he actually sent me this. And this right here, to me, it's not that it's a Palantir logo that looks really slick and really cool. It's that someone across the world came across the content on the internet around Palantir that all of us have been collectively creating. And he took his hard work, his efforts, his hand to steel, and built something to represent that community. So Ken, I know you're watching in the chat, man. You deserve all the gains that you have right now. Thank you for keeping up with the content. And I think, again, this just represents that this is one of the best communities on the internet. This is, I think we're rivaling the Swifties. I really do. And, the cool thing is, instead of Taylor Swift winning a Grammy and you're super excited she won a Grammy, nothing happens in your life. When Alex Carr bangs on the table, we make money. So that's the difference between being a Swiftie and a Palantard. And from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you for keeping up with the content. Thank you for following all of us. Everyone's links are in the description. No money is needed. Just your attention means the world to us. Please follow us on Twitter in the description. Palantir newsletter, dailypalantir.substack.com. You get a 5-minute newsletter every day. Arnie's newsletter, palantirbullets.com. Again, free to subscribe. His Twitter in the description, and then Vince's Twitter in the description, then Neil's Twitter in the description as well. Couch Investor.
By the way, whoever follows me next will be my 10,000 follower on X. So
I'll unfollow you and refollow you to help you.
I'll put Neil's Twitter right here in the chat so you guys can check it out. And really, the reason I want to spend a second on this is because I don't think this has been about money. This whole content thing. What's been about money is the stock. Like the gains in the stock is about the money. But creating content, you got to be a certain type of a little crazy to make this much content about Palantir. And it's because not only do you want to have a voice, not only do you want to build a brand and a personality, and yeah, eventually you can make money off that. But we do this, we've done 107 episodes, 107 weeks in a row for Palantir Weekly. That's more than, close to 2 years of talking about Palantir at 12 a.m. every Friday, and 300 people show up. Like the fact that we've been able to cultivate this community, to me, is the most meaningful thing that I've done. 26 years being alive, the fact that there's a community of thousands and thousands of people that actually care about our thoughts and opinions, that we get to come together and have these discussions, and we get to make some fucking money in the process on one of the most interesting companies in the world that we all were definitely right about before the street and are probably still going to be right before the street. It's the relationships and journey you go on that make life meaningful. Dare I say that's more important than the money. And the fact that we're here, it just means a lot. So, any last words from you guys? Arnie, go ahead.
There's a comment. Proud to be a Palantard. Never been true.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Please make sure to like. Please make sure to subscribe. And I'll be live tomorrow, and we'll discuss all of this. We'll discuss it on Palantir Weekly. Means the absolute world. Hope you guys have a great, great day. And look, the stock will do whatever the stock does tomorrow. But these were results that show the company's moving in the right place. And as long as that's
business
the case,
is booming. Business is booming. That's the most
demand
important.
is off the charts. Business is booming. And eventually the stock price will have to reflect that, because a $5 target is just going to look silly if these numbers keep going the way they are. And it means a lot for everybody to be here and to join the stream. And we had 5,000 people. Palantir's own stream had like 2,000. Like, that's just insane. And Palantir knows that. These guys know how big the community is. They sometimes can't acknowledge it explicitly due to legal reasons, but they know us. They know we're here. And it's going to be fun to cover the company for the coming years. Thank you, everybody.
When Karp said that when he goes around and he meets with clients, he realizes that these guys are also retail investors in the stock.
Yeah.
Imagine
that's
the kind of conversation he's having.
To meet with a client and for them to be so invested in your company, literally, and then potentially in terms of actually a business arrangement. It's just, there's a lot of software companies out there, a lot of SaaS businesses. This is one of the most exciting ones from a variety of levels. And I think we're very early in what this is going to be over the next decade, because you got people with the right mentality. You got people that want to deliver value more so than get paid. And usually when you give enough value in any field of life, you will eventually get paid. And reap the benefit of that.
It is crazy.
Go.
It is crazy to think that this is a 20-year-old company, but still we are very, very early in that journey. But yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you just said.
Just saying, how we all can bring a lot of value, not only by smashing the like button, but I would encourage everyone to bang hard on the table.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. We will see you very soon, because the journey just continues. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you for being here. Have a good one. Good night.
Bye-bye.